I want to thank you all for your patience today and for your high interest in this important summit. As I said during the very first summit which took place in Prague, the European political community is good news for Europe, for all of Europe, and for the vision of Europe whole, free, and at peace, because it allows each and every one of us to have an equal voice on issues that truly matter to our people and to our countries. As you are aware, what we discussed today are the security threats that we are all facing. And I'm particularly pleased that today's summit is taking place in Moldova, a country that, just like my country, Kosovo, faces security threats from external malign actors, and at the same time a country, just like Kosovo, that is so committed to its European path. During the discussions with European leaders, I had the opportunity to inform them in detail on what's going on in the north of Kosovo, because we are facing daily security threats by Serbia. And of course, we need the support and the help of our allies to make sure that we find sustainable solutions that contribute to long-lasting peace, and at the same time, a full and swift implementation of the agreements that were reached lately in Brussels and Ohrid. I also had a trilateral meeting with President Macron and Chancellor Scholz, a meeting to which High Representative Borrell joined, where we discussed in detail the challenges that we're facing and what are some of the solutions that can make us move forward. Later on, President Macron and Chancellor Scholz insisted that we have a joint meeting with President Vučić as well, in their presence and the presence of Mr. Borrell, where of course I had the opportunity to once again insist on respecting Kosovo's legal and constitutional framework, and at the same time the interest of all citizens, no matter their nationality. What is crucial at this point is that Serbia stops supporting these criminal gangs that are causing most of the problems in Kosovo's north, but also beyond in our region. And that is a precondition, of course, for making sure that there is de-escalation in the ground. And secondly, to have a full implementation of the Ohrid Agreement, because Vučić has been constantly saying that he is not going to implement it. In fact, since the agreement that was reached in both Brussels and Ohrid, he has been violating it at least 8 times, and it is crucial that we have a clear message by the European Union about these violations. In turn, I expressed the commitment of Kosovo to fully implement this agreement without getting away from any of our obligations. In sum, this was a great opportunity for countries big or small to make sure that we discuss the way forward, especially in how to deal with hybrid threats, the security threats that the Western Balkans are facing from malign actors. And since today is the 1st of June, the International Day of the Child, I pointed out in all of the meetings how important it is that we seek justice for children that suffered in the war of Kosovo. We have the highest number of children killed per capita of any war in former Yugoslavia, and we still have a lot of children that are missing from the war that are in massive graves in Serbia, and also to seek justice for the children of Ukraine. So just peace, as discussed today by President Zelensky, is the way forward. So I'm happy to answer your questions if you would like to ask anything.
Yes. As I said, the President will be answering questions in English and Albanian, so I'll just pass the microphone immediately.
Hi, Andrew Gray from Reuters. President Osmani, earlier today you told us that you didn't have any plans to meet with President Vučić. You didn't see him as part of the group of European leaders who respect democracy and the rule of law. What made you change your mind? And how would you characterize that meeting? Do you think it was helpful? Do you think in any way it brought you any closer to a resolution of the current crisis? Thank you.
It's true, I absolutely had no plans to meet with President Vučić today. Of course, the dialogue between Kosovo and Serbia is ongoing in Brussels under the auspices of the European Union and supported by the US, so I believe that negotiations should take place there. But of course, there was quite a persistence since this morning, I would say, from most European leaders. And of course, as the president of all the people of the Republic of Kosovo, I want to show the constructiveness, which is a virtue of all of our people, and to show willingness that we can talk to everyone. We've extended our hand of cooperation to Serbia for years, so this is not the first time that we find ourselves together with Vučić in such a gathering. But I have to say that this meeting, which was, of course, upon the insistence of President Macron and Chancellor Scholz, a request of theirs which I respected, since they are some of our closest allies, was not a negotiating meeting. It was an informal meeting, as they called it, where we exchanged views. I can say that Mr. Vučić exchanged views. He was whining and complaining and, of course, not telling the truth, which is a virtue of his, having been Minister of Propaganda of Milosevic. But I had the opportunity also to ask him, first of all, does he consider that he has an agreement with Kosovo or not? This is a key question, because he undertook obligations in Brussels, and if he goes out from one media to another and says that he is not going to implement, then it puts the entire process into question. Secondly, I asked him to remove his army from around the border with Kosovo. And thirdly, I've asked him to remove the support for these criminal gangs that are causing pain to ordinary citizens, especially to Serbs who live in the north, by intimidating them and using violence against them. And finally, I reiterated the full commitment of the Republic of Kosovo to fully implement each and every point of the agreement which was reached in Brussels and in Ohrid. Vučić was furious, as you know, he loves to insult in his own language. But what was important is that we took the advice of our allies for this meeting, and of course the views that I express on behalf of the Republic of Kosovo are the same when Vučić is in the room and the same when Vučić is not in the room. So these are the same very principled positions. On the second part of the question, do we believe it brought us closer to a resolution? So the meeting was not intended to, as I said, negotiate a solution, but there were certain asks that President Macron and Chancellor Scholz had for both Kosovo and Serbia. It's not like President Vučić answered on any of those asks that they had for him, whereas what they asked Kosovo is to find a way to cause new elections in the north, which would give the Serb citizens there the opportunity to participate and elect mayors with a larger legitimacy. And I did inform them that our legal framework allows for that possibility, and we are ready to consider it in line with Kosovo's law on elections. That means Serb citizens, about 20% of them that are in the voters' lists, can sign a petition, and through that they can initiate the process of new elections, and we are ready to follow the law. It's very easy. It's a very democratic process. We allow our citizens to determine when they want new elections, and I believe without a problem we can move forward with that, but we need participation from their side. They can elect the mayor of their choosing with a higher legitimacy, but they need to participate. Vučić was asked not to interfere, not to pressure citizens to not participate. There was no answer from his side, but I do hope that the citizens will allow to use their rights that are guaranteed in Kosovo by the Constitution and the laws. And trust me, there are plenty of them, more than in any other country in Europe or any other country even beyond. They just need to make sure that they make use of them.
Yes, Stefan Israel, Tagesanzeiger and Table Media. My question would be, do you feel or do you think that you are any closer to a solution? I heard also President Macron saying that Kosovo should implement this point about the association of the communities. Are you ready to do this? And actually he said that you should repeat the elections. There was no question about petition or something you mentioned now. Thank you.
Of course, as I said, there are legal procedures in terms of repeating elections. We cannot just wake up one beautiful morning and say, let's have new elections. we have to follow our laws and we have to follow our constitution. But as I said, these are very easy democratic procedures that allow the citizens to decide when they want new elections. As I said, there can be, of course, a de-escalation, but de-escalation starts in Belgrade by having these criminal gangs stop causing violence in north of Kosovo against innocent citizens. That is key, and that's what we've asked to happen. When it comes to the association of Serb majority municipalities, we have committed to respecting that obligation, of course, in line with Kosovo's constitution and the Constitutional Court decision of 2015, which also helps Kosovo keep its functionality internally. Otherwise, we may risk another Republika Srpska in the region, which I don't think anyone in their sane mind would want to repeat. On the association of Serb majority municipalities, there can be progress, of course, but there needs to be progress on the other points of the agreements because they're not less important. Serbia needs to stop objecting to Kosovo's membership in international organizations. They need to respect Kosovo's territorial integrity and sovereignty and all of the other principles that are envisaged in the German-French proposal. So asking just one party to implement, it's not going to help the credibility of the process. So equal footing is all that we're asking for. Go ahead.
Yes, there is an impression that there is a lot of pressure on you. Do you consider this I mean, how do you see this? There's a lot of pressure on the Kosovo side, but quite little on the Serbian side. So how do you explain this?
Kosovo is on the right side of history. Kosovo is defending democracy, it's defending its sovereignty, something that was achieved with a lot of sacrifice. For us, these agreements, as I always say, are not just a piece of paper. It's about our future, it's about the future of our children and the country that we'll leave behind for them. And we want it to be a country without problems with its neighbors, because we don't want our kids to grow up with all the pain and struggles that we had to grow up. So we are extremely careful on the proposals that we make, on the concessions that we accept, but at the same time, when our allies ask us to do something, there are times when we disagree on tactics, but I never question their motives. Our allies are one of the reasons why we are free and independent today. Most of them, of course, recognize Kosovo's independence and sovereignty within the current borders. So we need to understand that as a small country, whose freedom was achieved also with the help of allies, one of our biggest strengths is actually our partnerships, our alliances. So even when there is pressure, I'm very confident that we can find a way forward, but it has to be together with our allies, because this is what ensures sustainability of the path forward, and it ensures the success of the path forward. So I've been in politics since 1999, to have been in a lot of meetings with pressure and requests and so on and so forth, but whenever we stick to principles and shared values of democracy and rule of law and respecting Kosovo's sovereignty, and we move ahead with our allies, we are always successful. So despite, as I said, these disagreements of the past few days, I'm working very extensively with our American partners as well as partners from the EU, and we are all of the same opinion that a path forward, a solution for de-escalation is very close, but we need to ensure that the focus is on the full implementation of the agreement, not just parts of it.
Thank you very much for your questions.
Thank you.